Hi, guys. Hello.
Hi, Diana.
How's it going?
Okay.
Sorry, I was here on Photoshop just checking out some things and then I looked up and yikes, class started. And I had let you guys in. You're all sitting there and I wasn't letting you in. All right,
Diana, is today the last class?
today is the last class. Believe it or not, time has flown. Not only that, but tomorrow I'm doing the COVID test to go back to the US. We're going back on Sunday.
Ready for the big thing to stick in your nose? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, don't remind me. I'll just, but I can't go back without doing it. So, yeah. Yeah, now you made me start itching my nose. Yeah, it seemed like it was so much time, but here we are, getting ready to go home. So everyone go over to the chat and sign in. I've had a good bit long day walking all over town. I calculated about, yeah. How much was it? Like 12 miles or something. I don't know. It's crazy. Ton of walking. So work with my sister and my niece. Okay, is everyone in here? Okay, so who's Zoom committee guest? Oh, okay. Hi, Bonnie.
Sorry, I was just in another,
Arrived as a Zoom committee guest. That's totally
oh, that's
fine.
who I signed in as. Wow. I'll
What's that?
change. That's who I signed in as, I guess. I was in that Zoom a moment ago, so I gotta
Okay.
change my name.
Right, so I'm gonna hide this and share my screen to the bridge. Here we go. Right, so I'm in my general bridge. I did get one person who showed me their before and after, Vera, of work that you did with wrinkles. And yeah, it's looking good. Oh, I'm not sharing that one. Can I put it up? I'll actually share the desktop and then I'll put it up here to show you really quickly. So this is Vera's before and this is her after. So before, and if you pay attention to her eyes in this area, then this is what she did after. Is Vera here? Yeah, there you go. So Vera, on the one hand, not bad, but let me just say slight criticism here. It feels like you've taken away the shape of her eye with the, let me just go
Today,
back.
you know, when I look at it, she looks like she has a black eye.
Yeah, like instead of keeping just that line lighter, you've erased it, which then it, you know, it's like, did you bring it back down? Did you bring down the opacity again? So
I
that,
didn't, I was in a hurry and
oh, okay.
forgot to do
Well,
that.
good, then that's all, that's the only, then you go. That's a good answer then, because
And
then
then
you said yes.
the frown is awful.
And then,
Yeah.
well, I was just concerned that that looked like when you cover it and then you need to still reveal some again.
Yeah.
Because so what that looks like, it's the covered portion and that looks kind of, yeah, fade, okay? And then
I
on these
used-
lines though,
I
I don't
used
think you did anything. right?
Lighten, and Lighten didn't do the job that I
Well,
wanted.
Lighten just does a little bit. Lighten just brings back if there's light
Uh-huh.
in the shadow. So lighten just is helpful if you had, you know, like the upper part of this has a little bit of a light here. And when you do lighten and you delete it completely. And when you do lighten, it brings a little bit of it back. So maybe here I'm seeing a tad, but then you have to go and lower the opacity of that layer where you retouched over it so that you
Right.
see the original wrinkle through it. And here I wasn't seeing any original wrinkle through it. Not that she has that many to see, but you know, like right now, there's nothing there. Like you did the retouching and you didn't bring down the opacity. So in Photoshop, once you're done with this step, you need to do one more step, which is bring down the opacity. Whatever you find necessary with someone with so few wrinkles under her eyes, you might want to just do, you know, bring it down all the way to, you know, 40%, just lighten it. But then over here, I don't see any difference. So I guess you didn't do this portion yet.
I didn't do that portion.
Okay.
no.
Maybe keep going, keep doing the retouching on the rest of her face. And then bring down the opacity of that layer so that you basically hide most of the retouching. Thus it ends up just lightening the deeper portions of the grooves, which might not seem much, but that's what makes a face look less wrinkled. When if the groove is less dark, then it looks like it's less
I should
wrinkled,
have
which
done
is
something
why,
with that nose shine too.
what?
I should have done something with, there's a shine on her nose.
A little bit,
So-
you can do a little bit of, yeah, a little bit of retouching on this nose shine would help. Let me just say that this is why when you look at model photographs, a lot of times the photographers have this light that's very, very soft light, straight frontal onto their faces, because that flattens, right? Any deep grooves that. Who's speaking?
Give me a diffuser.
Someone has a TV on or, seems to be on Vera's, so I'm gonna mute you, Vera. Do you have a TV or a radio or something on? No? Bonnie, there you go. Bonnie's, thank you. So when you have a frontal light coming in, instead of having deep grooves with dark, you know, shadows, you just have light ones. So here where there's light, see how this is much lighter than that. So when you do this job that we've been doing, you lighten that deeper part of the shadow. And that's what gives you the impression that the shadow isn't so deep, so it looks less wrinkled, right? But you don't want to take it away completely, or then you lose the shape of that, you know, the under eye should have a little bit of a depth in there. And that's what got lost here, okay? Thanks for sharing, because as I said, I want to see what you do so that I can give you some feedback so that you can do better next time. So that's great.
One more question on the fold of that shirt. I wanted to continue the fold, but I use the clone tool.
Oh, I
It's-
didn't look, there was a fold in the shirt that you worked on, I didn't
Yeah,
notice.
down by the necklace.
Oh, you took the, sorry, I was only looking at her face. You guys see how she's got some writing on the t-shirt? And it seems to be gone.
Yeah,
Okay,
it got a little blurry and I wasn't happy with the result. So
so, yeah.
my
I'm
brush
gonna-
was too big, maybe.
So I'm looking at the shadow that you managed to keep. When you have, when you have a lot of blur in the final result, what happens is that you've got too soft of a brush, you know, the hardness of the brush. If it's giving you a lot of fuzziness when you overlap, and as you overlap the drawing and then you go over it again and again, that fuzziness ends up being soft pixels. So it helps to have a soft fuzzy brush for some things. A hard one is much more, excuse me, precise, harder to use. I think you need to just tone it and find that the right size brush when you do such a huge piece of t-shirt as you did in this one, you have to replace a lot of material. It's better to have a not so soft brush so that the texture of the t-shirt still shows through. You know how you can see the texture of the jacket, you can see the texture, like you could see it's one of those like, you know, lightweight kind of
Mhm.
rain or weather wind jackets. You can see the texture of the t-shirt there. When you get over here, it gets a little bit hazy and fuzzy and some kind of splotchy here. One thing that worked well is you kind of seem to have continued this shadow down here. So it's kind of pretty realistic, because if you guys look, before she just had this lettering, all of that, and she just completely erased that. And let Lisa in. Probably you cloned a bit of this down here, and so that kind of worked well. Let me go back to the after. So you know what though? Even though it's not perfect, one thing that's clear is that this is a portrait of her. By taking it away, you've enhanced that we just look at her instead of at the t-shirt. But since she's looking straight at the camera, she's got an attractive, you know, like a happy smile. It's an attractive portrait. You're not trying to look away because someone's in pain. Is that what I mean by attractive? Not that she's attractive or not, but it's a face that you want to look at. And I hadn't even noticed that you had retouched the t-shirt, which is the point. You don't want to notice things that have been done, right? So when you point out that it's blurry or whatever, I can give you the critique of, yes, we'll try to do this or that. But in reality, I think it's well done. What I would do, in fact, is maybe just chop off a little bit of this. Proportionally, you have a lot of body here that's not part of the portrait, and this is the portrait. Maybe the up to here is the portrait, but maybe there's like this chunk here is unnecessary. It adds nothing to the portrait this much, right?
Right. Would you take
So
away the
when you-
necklace?
And that takes care of half of what you hid.
Yeah.
And then you really don't pay attention to the part that's left. You don't notice if it's right or wrong because you're just kind of focusing on her.
Yeah.
So that's
Would you
my,
take away the necklace?
no, that's her. That's what she's wearing. I mean, if you take away the necklace, you can't. Remember, portraits, people aren't who they are just because of their skin. They are who they are because of how they wear their clothes, what kind of decorations they wear, how they hold their hair. And that's her necklace, you know? I don't think, if this were a formal portrait for a business meeting or whatever, you'd make sure that the t-shirt is straight and the whatever hairs are not out. But this isn't that. This is just, you know, a happy
casual.
moment. What's that?
Very casual.
Yeah, and so that necklace works perfectly well if it's not perfectly centered or whatever. I wouldn't even touch that. No. I mean, you can take it off. You can take it out for practice at cloning, right? But certainly not for the value of the picture. So, all right. Well, thanks for sharing and for your question.
I did have one more of your baby. And when I use that iris blur, the towel is, I think, came out overly blurred, and I need to learn how to control that blur on the edge.
Yeah, well, we're gonna go back to it because we didn't finish it, remember? I
Yeah.
said that, remember that we had an area of the towel. Anyway, we need to go back to it. We need to finish it. And part of it is because of all the edge of the towel. So maybe that's the question that you have. Okay,
Yeah.
we were
Mhm.
almost done with it, but not completely done with it. So is everyone here? Lisa, did you get to do something on my eye? Did you get to do the baby in the towel? I know you had to kind of
No, no, I did not.
pop out. Okay, so then, sorry, I'm having something in my eye. Oh. Okay, so I'm gonna upload to the Google Drive.
Okay,
I'm gonna upload into the download, you know,
yeah,
files, whatever. There's already two, the start and the already retouched. Don't go
Okay.
to either of those two because those don't, those are not the ones that have anything to do with, let me stop my share for a minute while I upload the stuff. It's easier.
So
Those
what
are
is the,
not,
what is the one called that I'm gonna?
yeah, so hold on, I
Yeah.
need to upload it. Give me
Sure.
1 second.
Sure.
I don't have it there, which is the last one that we did. Today is July 22nd, so it would be July 20th. And it was Santi and Towel yesterday. Okay, so this is the one. I'm putting it up right now. And it's called Santi and Towel Retouched Summer 2 2021. So it's got this whole long name, which means that you won't see the whole long name. But let me see, of the 3 Santi and Towels, it's the second one. There's 3. It's the middle one. Okay?
Okay, the middle one. Okay.
Of the 3 Santi and Towel, it's the middle one. That's the one that's the underscore summer 2021. That's one that we're working on. Okay?
Okay.
So if you can download that from there and then catch up. Everyone
Yeah.
else, let's open that photo that we were working on, because we left it at a place where it needs a bit more before we can call it a day. And partly it was oh, hold on, I'm not sharing. Partly it was, where's my share? Here we go. I need to first move my Zoom out of the way or I won't see you guys. There we go. So Vera was talking about the towel, the edge and something, and I just wanted you guys to know and remember that we put a smart filter here with a blur gallery, which blurred the background of the baby, right? But don't forget that this whole part here, the face retouched, is sitting above the filter. So this blur filter is only affecting this background layer. It's not affecting the one that's called face retouch. Does that make sense? It only affects anything that's underneath it. So look, if I turn this eyeball off, I've got this little perfectly sharp top face retouched group of layers that has not been affected by the blur gallery. Does that make sense? The iris blur did not affect it. It would have to be a top of it to affect it. So if I go to this face retouched and open it up by clicking on this little arrow right there, oh, then over here, we had many layers under face retouched. We had the background that we masked, and it had us kind of follow this little edges of the inner part of the hood. Then we retouched the face and we made it lighter and lighter. You know, we did a whole bunch of stuff to it until we got to where we wanted it. And then we just kind of separated it. It's sitting on top of this. So let me make this blur much harsher. I'm going to double click. I opened the blur by double clicking on it. Now I'm going to make the blur really harsh so you guys can see what I mean. I'm going to say okay to that. And that's way more than I would normally do to it. But notice that the blur filter, if I turn it off or on, it's this top little hood is completely sitting on top of it unaffected. Does that make sense, you guys? Am I able to, have you understood what I'm talking about when I say the blur filter is not affecting it? Anything that needs to be affected by this filter has to be below it. So if I were to grab this and move it below, now it's being affected by, it could be affected by this, except for the fact that this is an opaque layer. I didn't ever take away the baby from this one. So if I turn this off, if it's there and it's not there, this is the entire photo. It's being affected by the blur gallery. See that? So I left the baby out of the place. This is a blur that's so intense that you can see there's nothing there. But my face, and I'm going to put it back up here and turn it on, still has all this towel. So now what I need to do is figure out how to add this to this whole image. So anyway, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna undo this blur gallery that's completely out of order. Here we go. All right. So now, do you guys understand what I mean? How here I've blurred everything. Let me go Command plus. I blurred everything. And yet this guy sits on top. This little yellow thing is perfectly sharp sitting on top. All right, I'm not sure. I'm not getting any feedback from you guys. I guess you understand me, but if you don't, say no so that I can explain it in a different matter. Otherwise, I'll continue. Do you get how this is sitting like this here? It's linked right now, so it wouldn't. I'm going to unlink it for a second. I'm going to unlink that layer for
Yeah,
a second. And I'm going to move it around, and this is what I mean. This is sitting on top of the other baby. This is our good baby face sitting on top of the bad one. And look, at the good baby face is being gently blurred around this little shoulder here, around this part of the hood, versus this one that sits on top is getting no blur whatsoever, no matter if I put it in the blurriest area. Okay, I'm going to undo that so that I can put him back to where he belongs, which is right there. So now what we need to do, where you see that your top layer is sharp, we need to soften that area as well. And we're going to do that with a mask. Okay, what's your question, Vera?
When you had the iris blur, the oval was going horizontally. Is that possible for you to turn it so that you're only including the towel area because the horizontal caught the brown in the back?
Yeah, I'll show you how to move the whole blur right now. The basic shape that it came with worked fine for the baby, so I haven't taught you that. And remember, I taught you the blur filter the last couple of minutes of the class, and I said we'd go over it today. So yeah,
Okay.
I want us to figure out how to get it to work with the baby, and then after that, we can use the blur filter on other images, and I'll teach you how to handle it better, okay?
Okay.
So I'll give me a little yes or a thumbs up or whatever if you understand what we're about to do, that we need to blur the edges of the baby that's on top. Or give me a no if you're not very clear about why or what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm seeing 3 thumbs up, 4. All right. Okay, so sorry, I had a very late night last night. The ending of class includes a whole bunch of work, and I stayed up for the other one. Sorry for those of you who are in the afternoon class, the MAC class. When I originally thought it was finishing today, I had set up my automatic emails, and everyone got an email today saying, see you in class today. And I had officially said goodbye to everyone on Tuesday, and I think I confused everyone, but I was out of email connection, so I couldn't correct that. So I think some people signed in thinking there was a class. So anyway, so here we go. This area is the whole face, and we need to mask it to let through what's happening on the bottom. So just like we did to individual things that needed masks, when you need an individual mask, we put a mask on, we can actually mask an entire group. So I'm going to select this group, the one that has the baby face. I'm going to go down to the same place that we put the masks on. Let me get my red spotlight. It seems more visible. I apologize. I'm sorry about the yawning. I'm just, my time after all these months, this week is finally the schedule and everything is caught up with me. I'm going to mask this folder. So I'm going to head down here to the place where you add a layer mask. Click on that. And look, I've got a mask now on a folder, which means the entire baby face, which includes all of the layers that went into making this baby face, have now gained a mask. So now what I can do with this mask is I can begin to hide portions of it. Let me be clearer. I'm going to turn this one off so you guys can understand truly what I'm doing. I'm masking the face. The face is only this. Not going to touch the background. What I want is to have the edges of this blurred enough that it doesn't interrupt the blur that I added. Okay, so over here, the blur goes all the way into this almost to this shoulder. This shoulder doesn't have much of a blur, but from here to here, it starts having a blur. And then over here, kind of crossing his chest, almost behind the neck. Okay, and not much more, a little bit of the hood. So there's a blur happening here that is stopped happening when you turn this one off. So I'm going to go into this mask. I'm going to get my brush. I'm going to hit the B key to get my brush. And I'm going to paint the opposite color of the mask. The mask is white. So I need to make sure that the black color is on my foreground. And I look at my black color over here and yep, I already have it. Otherwise, if you have a white color, ooh, I'm so sorry. What's the key that you need to press, or what do you need to do to change the foreground to the background?
Command I, invert.
Nope.
Nope.
Try again.
Just guessing.
X.
X, the X key. The X key switches foreground to background. So try that. Hit X, 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 X. And you see how my white and my black are switching every time I hit the X. I want to have the X on top. And now I'm going to turn this off again so you guys can be very clear what we're doing with my mask selected. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to begin to delete some of this stuff. That's what I'm doing. Now that's not correct. I'm just showing you what the idea is, but I don't want to completely delete the baby. I just want to gently delete the baby. So now I'm going to say Command Z. Now I'm going to do this more gently. So I'm going to put in a less, I'm going to bring in maybe 25% opacity or something like that. And now I'm going to begin to cover the edges. I think that it went all the way up to like his shoulder, about this much, right? And so then you're just merging the ends. So this, and when I've been doing 25, if I go over it again, it becomes 50. If I go over it again, 75, fourth time, it's as if I had actually completely put in a black line there and it just disappears it, right? So then when I turn this on, my image now is gently blending in to all the work that's happening in this bottom one. So I can go with my mouse here and just gently, softly. There you go. So I'm basically adding this whole to the image. Okay. All right. How's it going? I think I kind of like that. As you can see, now when I turn this on or off, it really is restricted to the face, and the whole hood, I've deleted it enough on the sharper edges and it seems to merge well. Maybe I can even soften these edges a teensy bit with a little bit of a soft, just so that it merges better into the, like I can go all the way around and soften the edges. I probably want to do it with a smaller brush, just in case there's any harsh edges, but this is in the same spot, so it shouldn't be very harsh, but anyway. Case, just soften the edges. There we go. All right, so, and now when I turn this on, I can't even tell that it's not supposed to be there. Now, I had unlinked this just to show it to you, but I want to link it again, so. Because I don't want anything moving around. All right, so now when I turn this on and off, the blur is natural and it's reaching all the edges of the baby towel. So I'm seeing the original blue blur. Okay. Questions? How did that go? Yes, no, maybe? Whoa, oh no. Hold on. I messed up. And I moved out my computer and the whole attachment that connects my second monitor just completely dropped out. And yikes, second monitor. Oh, there it came in. Okay. Now the computer is yelling at me because I disconnected my hard drive without meaning to. Unhappy. And let me share again. Well, actually, before I share again, since I had to disconnect it, is there any question there? Anyone who wants to share or ask me? All right, thank you, Penelope. All right. Nope.
My eyes still go to a portion of that tile that's so, the blur is so strong that it takes my eyes away from the baby's face.
Yeah,
So
so
maybe
now
I
is
should
when
crop it.
now's when you back off, right? So I don't know how much blur everyone applied or didn't apply. Whoops. Let me share my screen.
Would you crop the bottom of it? Because,
There you go. So the original one that I had done before, I
yeah.
had worked, I had made this a
Yeah,
bit
I
more
know.
realistic. What's that?
Mhm. We could have cropped it to give
Yeah.
the baby the more focus.
Yeah, so as much as after I saw your portrait, I said, yeah, the job was well done, but you know what, maybe you should just crop a bit of it. If the option exists for you to crop it, if you look at it now and go, yeah, well, maybe I didn't like it, I can crop it, then that's good. It was still an exercise and retouching and whatnot that I wanted to give you, but yeah, maybe the best solution for this might be to not have that front part there. Or we can also first see if maybe we want to blur less or more. I don't know how much blur you all put on yours. Let me just show you how to edit that blur. That's the main thing I'd like to do right now, which is let's go over to the blur gallery right down here and just double click the blur gallery, double click. And in you go to the blur gallery. Now, what Vera is saying is she thinks this suddenly gets too blurry too soon. You can adapt the edges of this blur. You can make it less blurry. So right now, what did I leave it in? 17 pixels. I can go in here and make it all a bit less blurry. I can move it to 10 pixels or 10, you know. But the truth is, you know, here I'm moving it down to 4 pixels, which is barely any blur at all. It's just that this area of the towel was sharper than this area, which was already out of focus in the picture. So I'm not sure that blurring less really does much of a job, and blurring much more, of course, begins to look bizarre. It's like everything is blurred. So there's some in between point where you get the blur to look almost as good as you want, as you think you can make it look without it looking bizarre, which this time I landed on about 13, you know, so it's in the thereabouts. Clearly between here and here is where my eye sees it as okay. Someone else might want it totally blurred. I don't know. But if you are done with this much blur and you want less, there's two options. And one of them, of course, was what Vera said, we'll crop this out, which great, let's do that. Another one is to increase the blur on the outside, but to make the circle bigger, and then this fall off of the blur. In here, inside of these 4 circles, there's no blur. Outside of this one blue line, there's the complete amount of the blur that we're applying. And in between the little one, the blue line with a little circle and the big circle is the fall off, if you want, of the amount of blur that I'm going to be applying. So it gently transitions from no blur up to here to full blur from here to here. And this area is the minimal. So now maybe what we can do is we can change the position of this. You can grab this. See, when I go try to grab this outer circle, I get this little double-handed arrow and I can twist it and turn it, but I can also make it bigger or smaller, right? So you could maybe do something that focuses on him this way and then stretches out. So this is more in focus and it's a little bit less distracting, right? To have something so out of focus in there. This looks kind of natural because this is in focus. This is a little bit off focus. And then this is completely out of focus. So this kind of works. So how did I do that? Once again, I've moved, grabbing the little circle to go right or left or, stretch in or out, just like that. Make it a little bigger. Right? And then you can grab this fallout or fall off area, which you grab it from the big circle, and you maybe make it just a little bit bigger so that there's a gentler transition from beginning to end. Okay, we're going to practice it on another image where it's a bit more obvious in a minute. But yeah, so I'm kind of happy with that. Once I like what I do, I say, okay. And now I think that I like this better. Let me just show you the before and after. So this whole thing isn't so blurry now. That's the before. Everything was blurry except for the little edge. After, now that's all soft, then there's a little bit of a transition, and then it's fully blurry. All right, how's it going, you guys? Did that work for you?
Yeah, I thought that was better.
Any questions about the blur gallery? Or the blur filter? We're gonna go open it something else to use it on so you can get a bit more practice. There's many different blurs and stuff like that. But do you feel like this got any better now? If you still want to crop it, I would recommend this is the kind of thing that we should do at the very end, because we've gotten a chance to, affect the whole image. And we've decided, okay, now I think I still need to recenter it or move it to the left or to the right, or what you want to do. In this case, there isn't like a trash can next to the baby that you wanted to get rid of immediately. You don't know until after you do all the retouching if you want to do anything. So now at the end of it, when you click on this little box to do crop, I highly recommend that you go over here where if it says delete crop pixels, that means that any crop you perform, the pixels that get cropped out will disappear. And I'm not sure yet what I want to do. I might want to perform a couple different crops or something. So I want this off so that any crop I do, the stuff that I'm cropping stays there in case I've changed my mind and I want it back. Does that make sense? So that's why you would want to not delete the crop pixels. So I could right now suddenly decide to crop something this tiny, right? And I'm going to do that. I'm going to say, oh, there we go. And the good news is my pixels are still there. No matter what I do, my image, see, it's still there. It's just that I've just cropped something so tiny that I don't see it. Made a tiny little hole, but the stuff was still there. So now I'm going to undo everything I did as a show. And now what we're going to do is use this crop tool with this checked off, and then maybe try and see, well, what if you do get rid of that? Does that look better? Do you need to get rid of all of them? Does that look better? Do you need to move a little bit off on this curtain? Does that look better? Do you need to move a lot off? Do you need to make it, maybe even make it into a little tiny thing, vertical, so you end up deciding everything you want to do. If you think, nah, whatever, I don't really want to do this right now, or I got to go to my class and I just got interrupted and you're not sure, then you can still cancel. And I've always shown you how to click on the check mark to say, go for it, do it. But how about the, no, I don't like what happened here. I'm kind of lost. I'm going to start over again. Then this is the get rid of it, or hit the escape key. And you're back in the original blur gallery. Okay, or in the original, in this case, crop tool. So anyway, now I'm going to agree that we do need a little bit of cropping. So I'm going to go here and take a little bit of the stuff that was bugging me away and see how here this goes ghosted gray or something. That's what I'm going to take off. Gives you a chance to kind of feel it and see it. And then when you are kind of done, then you get to hit with the delete crop pickles turned off. You're safe. Hit the return key or the check mark. I click the check mark right now. And there you go. That would be my final image. We're going to do more blurs and some other images, but that would be Santi. Santiago, can you bring me a bottle of water, please? Some water, please. No, not next to the computer. Can you bring me a bottle? He's giving me a glass, but I don't put glasses of water next to the computer. Needs to be screwed. But can you put some water into it, Santiago? Because I need a whole glass worth of water. Thank you. Oh, I didn't know you had that. Okay, sorry. Just trying to. I was not ready with my water. How's it going, guys? You happy with the crop or not cropping or?
When I went, Deanna, this is Dorothy. When
Yeah.
I went to the crop tool, it made the frame very small. It didn't crop, it didn't outline the whole.
All right, do you want to share your crop tool? Let's see what happened.
Oh, now it's okay.
Well, you know,
I
gonna
went
show
back
the
into
teacher,
this frame.
it's gonna get fixed because, you know, that's the effect of the teacher effect.
Yeah, also, I think my ratio was like 5 by
Yeah, I was
7.
gonna say
something.
probably the ratio was in proportion that
I
made it
went back
tiny. Yeah.
in the history
Thank you,
and
Santi. Okay. Don't ever have open glasses of water or tea or coffee or anything like that near your computer. If it falls, I always refill a bottle and have it nearby so that it doesn't cause absolute horrible disasters. Yeah, there you go, Patricia, just like that. Did I just inspire you into drinking? All right. So if anyone has any question about this, otherwise I want to move on to a different image to practice more of the blurs or this or that. I don't want to move on from the field of the blur galleries. I just want to, seems like I got rid of. Something fell on my, give me a second, my mouse. I was moving my mouse around and I pushed over my pen. Got it. Okay. Let me share my screen again. Let's head over to Bridge. All right. So here in Bridge, where was it? Oh, did I not put the? Okay, it's similar to this one. This isn't exactly the one I wanted, but this will do. Go ahead and open it was one of the almost final images. It's called Stock Snap. And then there's many, well, not many, but there's a few that have that name, and it's the last one that has that name. Oops. And it's the like someone sitting on the edge of a pier. Okay. It's a JPEG, so if you double click, it's going to open in Photoshop. Okay. And then I'm going to shift my share to the Photoshop screen. And here we go. Does everyone have it open? Do you need a hand finding it? I see a little note like you don't have it open, Peggy, or you don't need a hand. Okay. All right. Okay, so here we go. This is an image that probably it's from a stock company, and it already looks like it's been kind of, there's a filter here affecting its density and whatnot. Okay, not going to worry too much about that right now. I'm not going to try to fix this photo. I just want to work on a couple of other possible blurs that we have. You might notice that most of this image is kind of sharp. Like there's sharpness from the beginning to the end of this. It's not up here. How do you call these things? Like dock? There we go, like a little dock. Okay. There's pretty much, you can see the boards all the way. You can see her, her back is there, but pretty sharp there. If you look at the water ripples, sharp here, it's kind of sharp there. It takes a lot. It takes going to the end of these ripples to actually get the background, the mountains to be out of focus, right? So let's go ahead and we're going to play with a little bit more with a couple of other blur gallery filters that are available. So we can spend a bit more time with variations of the filter. And we want it to be non-destructive. So what should be the first thing that I should be doing right now if I want it to be non-destructive?
Smart filter.
Yes, thank you. So instead of just going up to filter and suddenly going to the blur gallery, I first need to convert for smart filters. Remember, anytime you come to the filter menu, which is kind of out of my screen share, but it's right above here. If you click on the word filter up on top, you pull this down. All of these guys, all of these are filters that can be done in a in a non-destructive way by first converting for smart filters. So I'm going to convert for smart filters. It tells me it'll turn into a smart object. If you're in your own computer, you can say, don't show again, because you know this already. But if you want to be reminded that this is what happens, then leave it. I keep it on so that I can always teach students about it. Or not on, but I don't say okay to mine, so I can demo it. But other than that, if it my normal one, I do. And now that it's a protected smart filter, oh, there's something I'm going to go back to the smart filter, to the smart objects in the towel. We're going to go back to that. So don't close the baby in the towel yet. I just wanted to finish the filter conversation, and then I wanted to go and explain a little bit more what happened to all those layers that we turn into a smart object. Okay, now let's go to filters. And let me just show you something, by the way. This is new that just came into Photoshop. I read something about it the other day. I don't know enough about yet to actually go ahead and try it, because I don't want to teach something I don't know. But yeah, I heard it's pretty cool. It takes away when you do JPEG compressions, you have all this like artifacts, like kind of junk that ends up being there, which is what when we reduce things, I tell you to be careful. Anyway, it looks like it's a filter that helps reduce that kind of noisy, we call them artifacts, kind of like little blocky things. So I'm going to look into it. I'm looking forward to learning about it and maybe teaching it next time we get into Photoshop. All right, so let's head down to the blur gallery. And there's how many are 5? No, 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4, 5 different types of blur. Let's go to the one that we just did, iris blur, only because we already did it. So let's start with the one that we already know. And not only is it what we already know, but it'll be set up to exactly whatever we already did, because we just used it. Does that make sense? I had left mine at 15 and there it is at 15. So let's go pretty extreme so that we can get a feeling for it. Let's go pretty extreme. Okay, so let's go, intense here. So I'm moving it in there. Now I'm going to move my mouse into it. Who was it the other day who didn't get these white bigger blobs? Was it Penelope?
That was me.
Was it you, Joyce?
It
How
was-
about now? Is
it
it
was me.
still not?
Mhm.
Is it
Yeah,
still
it's still
not?
gone.
You're still gone. You might need to do some, Googling or
Mhm.
asking Adobe about that one.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Because what I'm about to show, this is part of needing to do that, and I don't know. So anyway, remember I told you that you could do the blur from here or from up here, depending, but you could also do it from this little circle here, which if you look to the right, my slider is moving over too. Okay, so it's the same thing. You can make this by touching the exact center, not anywhere else of this. You can move your blur around. You can move it over here, like your filter, right, around. So you can see when you have it extremely blurred, it's easy to recognize the parts of what's happening. And now's when we can see how if you can grab the center one and pull it in, right? Then the transition from no blur to full blur takes longer, okay? If you move it all the way in, you just get a tiny little spot of filter right there. Now, if you move this guy back up, then you have a very, very sharp transition. So the distance from this line to that line really makes a difference. And of course, we have a very intense blur here just for learning purposes. And then you have the possibility of altering the shape and the size of this circle by just grabbing these corners, okay? Like that. Now, what if we decide that all we want to do is blur everything except for this little, what is it, a railing or something to get into the water? Right, so go ahead and play with this until you find that you get to make everything pretty much go away except for this very specifically sized thing. Okay, there we go. And then if I want to see the effect on or off, I could either go up here to where it says preview. So this is a before and after. Again, I am just going extremely weird and wild on the blur. I want to show you how to operate the blur, not to make a good blur for this image yet. Got it? I wanted you to know how to use the parts because there's one thing I haven't shown you yet. Okay. Or two things I haven't shown you yet. So first I want to have a very specific, very controlled, whoops. My mouse does that. Area. Let me go a bit bigger so you guys can see what I'm about to do. Okay. Now I'm going to want to affect only one of these. See how I'm doing only one? Remember how before when you move them, they all move at the same time, right? You could also decide that you need a little bit more space on the top or a little bit less space on the bottom. I'm holding down my Alt or Option key, grab one, and now I'm only moving one. So it doesn't even need to stay inside, the same way as it is on the outside. You can move this one in and decide to blur that, but keep this long, or move this in and move that out. Whoops. Move this little guy out. I undid my bad blur. Okay. So you can click and drag to change the amount of blur. So I'm holding the alter option. Any questions there? Has that worked for everyone? On the other hand, there's this little, not on the hand, but there's this little X or not X, on the right, on the edge of the rim, right? There's this little box that you can pull out and you can stop having an oval. You can have a bit more of a square shape. It's this little X right there. So depending on the shape that you're working with, you might have a shape, you know, you might want a shape that matters less or more if it blurs. So there you go. And say that you do make it small, make it really tiny. I'm going to show you why in a second. Make it really tiny. So I'm just going to blur the top portion of this thing, and the rest is going to be kind of weird. Okay, so I've got this really tiny one there. And now, again, I'm making it really extreme because I want you guys to really see how to operate these. Again, it's just about having something visual and something not. Now, notice that when I leave this circle, when my mouse leaves it, you might have noticed that I get a pin, like a thumbtack. Well, this will allow me to create a new blur area. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click. I've created a new one. So now I have two blur areas to play around with. See what I mean? Which for certain things, it might, depending on your effects or your whatever, you could have two very different. Now I'm going to go over here. I have a pin shaped and I click and there you go. Now I've made another one. Right? And I can make it smaller or bigger or rounder or whatever it is that I want. And I'm going to drag it from the middle over to see some of this board. All right, so now that I'm done, if I say that I'm done and I want to go back to the first one, I see how this third one has all the live tools, but these two don't. So now I need to go back to these two by clicking on that little centerpiece. And there you go. Now this is the one I'm working on. Does that make sense? You touch the centerpiece of the one you want to work on and you work on it. And then when you go to the next one, that one and this one turn into just little circle spots. And then you move this one around. You do that and you go, oh, I just wanted to see this from there. Oh, we're going to leave that there. I guess the hair is okay to have it online and so on and so forth. All right, that's about everything. Now this thing that says high quality does give you a better blur, but since we're doing such an absurd blur, it doesn't matter right now. Where it does matter though, is that if you have a low quality graphic card, it might get harder and harder to do a lot of this. So Peggy, are you having trouble with a couple of these? It's working for you? Okay.
Yeah, I'm able to get it slow. It takes a while to sort of resolve itself. But, you know, so I get the little blue wheel and then it works. So I have 3 up and they seem to be, I'm able to adjust them.
You're able to do that? Okay. It is hard. Filters take up a whole bunch of your computer's operating
Mhm.
capacity. So make sure that if you're trying to work with filters and this stuff, that I'm putting back my little hot water bottle. I was getting a little bit warm and now I don't totally need the hot water bottle, but when I take it off, I start getting cold, so I put it on again. Okay. How's it going there, Bonnie? Doing well, Dorothy, Anne, Joyce,
I have a
Lisa,
question.
Patricia, yes?
So the circles, when this window is still open, if you change the blur slider, it changes it for all 3 circles, right?
Actually, yeah, the blur, it doesn't have the capacity to have individual, yeah. So if you make this lighter, it's lighter for all of them. So yeah, thank you so much for
So-
pointing that out. That's pretty important.
Yeah, would you be
Really have
able
only
to
one-
do it separately?
No, you can have different, I'm going to show you a couple of different blurs that might apply to different areas and you can have one in a way, one kind and another kind. But if you do 3 of these, doesn't matter how many you do, 1 or 3 or whatever, you still have only one amount of blur, that, because you can't have this be gentler than that. At some point, this is gonna top up with the blur from here. Basically, it's everything that's not in the center of the sharpness is blurred. So it'll by default go to the biggest one, you know? Like it doesn't, you can't have a nice transition, say, between this one that had gentler blur and this one. It just
Okay.
not how it works. It's not that intelligent. It's intelligent, but it's not that magical. That said, I have been doing ridiculous blurs just to make my point, but normally you would probably find something that's much more subtle for what you want to do, and then this, you know, it doesn't matter. Now, what I want to show you though is that you don't need to live with these blurs. You can say, let's just say okay for now. Let's just say okay to whatever we've been doing on a very sharp type one. Let's say okay. That way you can see how editable they are. So I said okay at the top. And so my whole like box for field or for blurs in general closed down, and I'm back to my normal layers. And here I've got the choice to either turn this off or turn this on. Ooh, sorry. But now I can decide, well, that's not really what I wanted. Maybe I want to make them bigger or smaller or a different blur. So let's open it up again by double clicking the blur gallery. Is everyone following me? Did you close yours
Mhm.
and then open them up again?
Mine is updating forever and I can't do anything but sit here and watch it update.
Did it start when you did the filters?
It started updating when I was gonna make a comment that it looks like every time I touch something, it created another blur circle. And I was trying to delete all the extraneous ones, and then somehow I got into updating, so it's taking forever.
Well, here's the thing. I should have told you about those little pin pricks or thumb.
You did. I don't know how they happened. You know, that's
Because, well,
weird.
it happened, I didn't warn you not to, but it's so easy. You just click here and boom, you get another one, right?
You did
so-
say that, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't think I did that, but it looks like I must have.
So I just clicked and boom, got another one. What if I want to get rid of it,
Delete.
right?
Right.
So you make sure you select it, the one that you want to get rid of, right? You can just hit the delete key. and it
Right,
goes
I
away.
did that. I had a few extra. I had a bunch of little white dots that showed up in the middle
Yeah,
of
so
something.
if it still says updating up there, it's just the fact that it needs a lot of energy to create these, you know, it's energy power.
Yeah,
And you're kind of running it to the limit. So you might want to, if it really doesn't ever stop updating, you probably got one too many. You might
Yeah.
want to just see, can you hit escape and see if it's still, it pays no attention to you that it might be a little bit frozen, or did it work if we hit escape?
it looks like it's all gone now. The blur is gone. It went away. And so now I'm gonna go back to normal and do it
Yeah,
again.
yeah, escape just erased everything. You know, just bounced you out of blur.
Pushed you out of the blur gallery,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's better than to
Now
sit
I
there
can start
doing,
again.
better than to sit there doing blur forever.
Yes.
yeah,
All right, so let me show you one more thing here, with respect to just the iris blur, that you could decide that you want it or don't want it by, and you can turn that little eyeball on, not eyeball, that little, I gotta put my spotlight on again. Give me a second. Huh, why is the spotlight not? It's not giving me that little red spotlight that I use. Huh, all right, well, I'll have to use my mouse. I want to stop the share. Next time I stop the share, I'll get the spotlight. Okay, so I can turn this on or off right here from the iris blur. Not that the effect went away. It's just not seeing it, which is different than not having it, okay? But let's not see it for a little bit. And let's see, you know, I'm a little bit worried about what the effect might be on you guys who have less bandwidth. maybe get rid of a few of them. I don't know, I'm gonna click here and delete this one. Oops. And then I'm gonna hit this and delete this one, just because we're gonna put some other blurs in here and I don't know how it'll work. So I can now turn this one off, which is different than deleting it. Yeah, it's still there. If I turn this on, there it is. Turn it off, it's gone. So it's kind of a feature that's sitting there. And let's go look a little bit at that to the other blurs. Not all of them, but in particular the spin blur here. When you open it up, now it suddenly shows you a check mark on it. And here it is. It's similar to what we've seen before. See, once you know how to use one, you know how to use pretty much all of them, except for instead of just blurring it, everything spins around in the middle of it. Okay, so say that you wanted to have, I'm going to move it from the center. This one does seem to be using a lot of bandwidth. It says updating. Is it at least it moves percentages? Anyway,
Mine didn't spin. This is Vera. It should look like yours.
yeah, it should, but it's a very strong angle. You can of course have it less angle or less of a splur. There, that one's a bit less of a spin. I don't want to bother explaining too much about all the details because it's all the same. You know, how much you do or not do, how much you do the fall off. It's just, I'm gonna exaggerate it so it's pretty clear.
Can you
And
take a look, please?
can I take a what?
Take a look at my screen and see
Oh,
what I
of
did
course.
because it's not spinning.
Oh, I didn't know that you were stuck. I'm sorry. I need to say, okay, let me stop sharing. And yeah, can you share yours, please?
All right, I have the spin blur checked.
You
But
still
it's
gotta
not
click
spinning.
on it.
Can
Click.
you click on the lines, I guess, or can you open up on the right side where it says spin blur? Is that you have check? Can you open the little arrow on the left of the word spin? Yeah, collapse it or uncollapse it.
Oh, I see. That's what I hadn't done.
Activated it.
All
Now
right,
go
thank you.
put your mouse on it and click. There you go.
I see. Okay, that's pretty cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, I don't have an image here, but I've had a car image that I've used in the past that's kind of sitting in your photograph. You're photographing it from the side. And it's just sitting on a road. And if you put a little spin blur on the tires, suddenly it looks like it's driving, you know, just a tad, but it looks like it might be driving through. So think about uses for it. I don't think that this is the right use for it. Just trying to show you the spin blur. But it's basically works the same as far as features as the, let me share my screen again. As the iris blur. Let me double click on the blur gallery again, open it up. And now we're turning off the spin blur. Okay, so we're not doing spin blur anymore. There's the field blur. And the field blur,
After you apply the blur, can you delete it? Or is it, you can go back in history to change it?
well, let me just say, okay, say that I've just applied this one. Let me apply it. This is just a general blur. Let me say okay to it. Right? Say that I've applied it. And this one I blurred everything. It's a general blur. If I now don't want it anymore, and I'm sure I don't want it anymore, I can delete it. If I'm not sure, I can just turn the little eyeball off, and it's sitting there while I'm deciding if I really want it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, but it's got all the different blurs. It's taking them all out, not just the one. Let's say you had a couple of blurs thrown
Oh.
in there. You have to, once you apply it, you can't go back and change it.
no,
Like
it's-
if I did the spin blur and I wanted, what happened is I wanted to save this in my file. And it made me apply it in order to save it to my folder. And so now I thought, well, I've saved it. Now can I go back and get rid of the spin blur if I didn't like it, or to alter it or whatever?
you can open it up again and turn it off and alter it or whatever. Yes, all you want.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Always. You can just turn it on, turn it off, open it up and do something different. Right now I'm in my field
All
blur.
right.
But I can turn this from here. I can
Okay.
turn them all on or off if I don't like them, or if I want to change them, I go back up to it. I decide I want a field blur that's much deeper or something like that. So yeah, they are eternally editable if you do them. Remember first, very important is that convert for smart filters.
Yeah.
Without that, I'd be stuck, completely stuck with that which I do the first time round, and all the pixels that I'm blurring would be mega destroyed pixels. Does that make sense?
Deanna, on this, could you mask the girl out, the portion you want to focus on, and still keep that field blur?
Hold on. Is that my alarm? Hold on,
Yeah.
I've got an alarm going on. It had fallen. Can you say again? So can you, did you say?
So since you were showing us masking before, and I'm wondering if I could mask out, I just
Oh,
want to focus on the girl and keep the field blur.
You can, not in here. There's no masking in here. You can later as a layer. So let me actually show you a little bit of the limitations of masking a filter once I'm done showing you one more of these guys. Let me just show you the tilt shift, and then I'll go show you what can or can't be masked, okay?
All right, thank
Right,
you.
so everyone turn all the other filters off, and now turn on the tilt shift, okay? And then open it, open it up. This one's gonna be a little bit harder to demonstrate because we don't have, anyway, because this top part of this image is already a bit blurry, but pay attention. Let me see if I have a better photo for the tilt shift blur. I guess I could use it on a person or something and you'd be able to see it. So I'll show it to you here, and then we can apply it on something where it might be a little bit more obvious. Okay, so here's the tilt shift blur. Notice that there's a center point here where you can move things up and down. Let's make the blur really intense again, so you can really see what's happening. This time it's not a circle, it's a line. So this is awesome for landscapes, right? Because you always have a horizon of set, or at least anything that has a bit of a horizon. Say that you're looking to blur the sky. What if this photo, before it was made, you could also see the mountains look really sharp. And I wanted to blur them, then this here is an up and down version of all these blurs, right? So say that I want to put the center of my blur is at this level always. That's my little circle that you've seen before. And that line is the outer line of my blur, after which everything is completely blurred, and it's here that it gently moves in, right? So now as before, I can make it I can make this outside move up. So now I've got a very sharp exchange. I'm gonna put it down again. You might not even see the one that's up there, but there's another one that I just brought up from way down here. Way up there, I guess. And then you can grab, whoops. You can grab this and tilt it if you want. So you can also have this work in different areas or different conditions or something like that. And all right. So can you see how it works? This is anything after that is like the outer limit. Anything in between this white line and that one is the transition. And anything inside of this little core is completely sharp. And then, all right, any questions? Not, needless to say, having a second one or a third one is probably not the thing to do on these because they're taking up the whole image, but anyway.
I'm frustrated. I can't, somehow I didn't, all of my blurs stayed when I went to save the file, and I couldn't turn them off. They didn't go away when we did the tilt thing. And so now then I would decide I'm gonna throw them all away and just do the tilt, but it won't let me. And
Well, I'm gonna say, okay, can you show me your screen? Because it's really hard.
yeah,
to-
I can't start while the other, someone
Oh,
else is
oh,
sharing.
I'm still sharing, sorry. I
Oh.
turned off my tilt shift, my filter, but I forgot to stop the
Okay.
share.
So well, I don't know why that got
Oh.
X'd out.
Okay. Two things happened here. Here you've locked out the mask, which doesn't really matter because you're not masking it. but
Oh,
you
the mask was
probably-
up there.
That's the mask. I haven't really, so you probably held down your shift and clicked it there. Hold down your shift and click again and that'll go away.
I am.
Hold down shift and now single click with your mouse.
I am. Nothing's happening.
Okay, so I'm not sure why, but one thing that is clear is that you have two blur galleries there.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, and I can't do anything. It's like I have to throw it all away and start over.
Yeah, we don't want two blur galleries. We wanted to open up and inside of the blur galleries kind of operate. So it's not letting you.
Yeah.
Do you have
So-
some hit escape? Do you have something that you're kind of? No. Okay, so
No,
Can you
say
like
okay.
cancel out of that first?
And that's why canceling out is hitting escape cancels you out. It says
Oh.
updating there. There it is.
yeah, it's,
691, okay. Cool, so now you have, turn the eyeballs off of both of them and then not, yeah, that's two.
there, it won't let me. It's like, well, it wouldn't let me do any of that.
Is it because she's still in the window on the top if she presses cancel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, say cancel.
That's it. Thank you. Yeah, I
Thank
was,
you.
you know, I couldn't get out. I didn't do
So-
that. Very nice, Joyce.
Joyce, I know, I'm like, all right.
Thank you.
You're
I'm good
like
now. Thank you.
little-
No
Little
problem.
teacher material
Yeah.
there, Joyce, you have given.
I
a
think
lot of
Joyce
different-
does a great job.
I know. She's like,
Thank
all
you.
right, earning all the teacher, you don't need to bring an apple to the teacher. You got all the points for helping out.
She sure does.
I know.
Thank you.
So, thanks for noticing. But anyway, if you end up, that happened because she had opened another blur filter as if you're setting up a blur filter again, instead of double clicking on the existing one and then working with it, right? And then that's why she was trying to work with it and she couldn't tell how come what was underneath. Well, it was already blurred for the other one. So the new one isn't responding. Your image now is blurred from the first one. And now you're like, "Oh, I'm trying to take the blur away." You can't. So you need to double click. Let me share my screen. Here we go. If you want to get into it again, double click to get into this one again. Don't go back to the filter. Create another blur gallery, right? Which is what happened there. So then no matter what you do, each one is affecting the other, okay? And you end up with a little double blur here that she had, which you don't want. You just want to double click this one to open it up and keep changing in here. All right, so. And then path blur, I haven't shown you yet, but it's basically, you'd have to make a path and choose, you know, it's kind of like speed. It's more complicated. I don't think there's anything here that's really very good for path blur, but yeah, it's not the thing for this image. But you
Did
can
you
make,
matter- Oh, never mind.
you can make a path, a direction in which you want the blur to go. It's kind of like, almost like wind. You start from there and look at how this is beginning to, I can't, I've never done it on this image. It almost feels like this blasting sideways rain, you know, when there's a huge storm and it's coming in and causing like intense, I've seen it when we were in a lake, when something, you know, a splash, basically everything splashes out and it's really big, like if it's hail or something. Anyway, other than the fact that she's so happily sitting there, that would be it. Anyway, so this is a path and you can alter the path and change the shape of your blur. Just play around with it a bit. And you can get some pretty intense little bizarre-ish effects in here. This is not one that I really tend to do much. Like I haven't really had much of I have an example, maybe one of you guys did it with me, that I have a dancer. And the dancer has her movements blurred, and then this path, we have her follow the legs of the dancer. So the blur kind of goes in and just kind of moves through the edge of the shape. But I don't have that exercise right now. Other stuff, not that. Okay, so I'm going to say okay to that one. And it can change in a myriad of ways. And now that left one's the only one that's left. If, I'm going to double click one last time. If I turn on the path blur and the tilt shift blur and the iris blur and the field blur and the spin blur, did it give up on me? To show me the spin when it kind of has to make things visible again, which is interesting. So now I've got basically everything cancels everything out is what I'm saying. So yeah, it's not worth it. Okay. I'm going to turn these off again and leave only one on. Doesn't really matter which one. And I'm going to say okay. All right. Got one last thing to show you that my break alarm just went off, but one last thing to show you quickly before we take our break, which is this mask here that Vera had asked, can I mask the effect of my filters? Well, yes and no. Once again, this is one mask for this one filter, but you could have other filters, and this one mask is for any kind of filter you've applied. So it's a bit limited. So let me give you another filter here that's very intense. And so you can see what I mean. So I'm going to go up to filter, distort, pixelate. I'm going to head down to like mosaic, something like that. All right, let me see. I hope the energy. I don't see it. It's not happening. There's too many filters happening at the same time. I can't, yeah, it's too much stuff. Let me just not do another filter here. Let me just show you the smart filter. If I put my mouse in this mask, use it as a mask, which is with the B for brush, and I make it really big, then you can see how I can let a portion of See, is she? Um. Why is it, oh, 24%? Okay, so I can take the effect off of someone. See how I've taken the effect off of around her? I can take a streak of the effect off from the center of the bridge. I can mask that, but it masks all the different filters that are working on her right now at the same time. Okay, so it's really hard to use a smart filter mask very efficiently because everything that's underneath it reverts to absolutely normal. And yeah, it's probably not, I mean, it's useful if you want to avoid. Yeah, so here I'm saying no to this little or portion. And if we look at my mask, I've said, don't put this stuff on this person. And I went, can't do it. And then now I just grabbed the little boy and I covered that. Once again, I only show this for you guys to see what the masks are like, but we never see that. Just explaining the kind of things that we're using. That little boy, this thing. I think it was a little boy, because that's a woman or something sitting there. So if you create a mask to hide the effect, then what's the point of having made it? So now I'm going to go back to X to turn this back to white. And then now I'm going to go ahead and just paint everything white again. And hopefully it'll all come back. Uh-oh. It's not liking it. Probably a little bit too much is happening. All right, there you go. So that's the limitation of the layers. I'm gonna stop my share. I'm not feeling very good, guys. I'm really kind of tired. It's time for a break anyway. Let me look at this. It's 11 p.m. exactly. So at 11:15. No, it's not 11 for you guys. What time did you start? What we start for you guys is 5:30. It's 6:37. Is it 7?
5 minutes to, no, 7. It's 7,
It's 7.
7 o'clock.
So let's go be back by 7:15 p.m. Don't forget to save. And I'll see you guys in 15 minutes. All right. 7:15. Oh, I moved this thing up and you're looking at my chin. All right, guys, are you back? Give you another 30 seconds to get back while I drink this. All right. Hey there. There you go. Seeing some signs of life. Okay. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna just the only thing I want to warn you about because it's harder with Zoom since this takes up so much of the computer's power and all that. It's hard to do too many filters, but I'll try to do one more just to see if it allows it. Let me share my screen because I just want to show you that this is just the blur gallery filter, which has 5 possible filters in it, all related to how much or how little you blur. I'm going to turn it off by turning an eyeball off so that I don't affect this. And now I'm going to go up to filter. I'm going to choose one of thousands of other filters that are available. So if I go to just the word blur, there's bazillions of other blurs. If I go to 3D distort, these are the ones that are pretty cool. Zigzag, swirl, shape, ripple, it just makes things happen. Noise, now this is an important one. You have something that has a ton of noise. We've worked on the noise filter. Not noise filter, but we've taken some noise off of images in Camera Raw. Here's where you, what's
Excuse
that?
me, could you describe what noise is?
Let me see if I zoom up to 100% if this one has any noise. So this image does not have noise, so I can't see how when I look up close, especially in the shadowy areas, everything looks pretty clear. Let me see the baby. These are the 2 that I have open. I'm going to go to 100%. I'm going to go one more %. This one has a little bit of, this one has some noise. I'm going to go back up a lot. Okay. As opposed to pixelated, see how here in the shadows, you have like little dots on his skin. Once again, part of it is because I just zoomed in a bit too much, but noise would be an example of just dots, which appear mainly in the shadow. Look at go to 100% to this photograph and look at this wall that's behind this right there. Do you see how it's not a smooth thing, that it really has lots of little kind of dots? Does that make sense? Let me see on the image that I have in Bridge. You guys are so quiet. When I say, does that make sense? No one answers, which is fine. I just have a hard time knowing if you're there or not.
Isn't that what used to be called grainy in the traditional photograph?
Yeah. It's not the same, but it's a similar effect in that things look really grainy when they have. I didn't bring any really very noisy images in this set. Let me quickly see if perchance this is noisy in the shadows. Just to show you a better example of noise. No, I don't really have a very noisy example today. This is as near as it gets, where if you go into this back here in this wall, it's just that since I have the blur gallery, let me turn the blur gallery off. There you go. Turn your blur off in this towel if you want. And then look at this wall. And it's not just a smooth green wall. Little dots everywhere. That's noise. And yes, similar to what in the past was grainy, which if you didn't notice grain in the past, this might not be something you understand, but you can tell that it's not just a smooth surface. Compare it, if you want, to this one where if you look at the sky here, it's smooth. There's no dots. If you look at this mountain, there's no dots. If it were to be noise, if it versus this wall, or is it not smooth? Does that make sense, Dorothy?
No, because it looks pretty flat to me.
I didn't
How
say
about-
not flat, just the texture. It looks like it has little spots on it.
I don't see that. huh. The water in the other photo,
Uh-huh.
on the top of the water, right there, and then at the,
The
But it-
speckles, the white
yeah,
speckles.
the speckles, uh-huh.
No, that's shines, reflection. That's not noise. That's just
Okay,
speckles.
it's reflection.
It's not,
Oh,
doesn't look grainy. It doesn't look grainy. Imagine something that looks like it has sand on it, which if you can
Oh,
see
okay.
that the sky is very smooth. If you
mhm.
look at this wall, go back and forth. Now you look at this wall and there's nothing smooth about it. It's full of little spots.
Mm.
Now, it's possible that because of the different corrections we did on this image, that your wall might have ended up more or less grainy than mine. That's why I'm kind of, it's not the best example. Jesus, I always have images with grain, but I don't have all my. Let me really quickly open up this one. Is this grainy? Yeah, so this is a bit grainy. So I'm looking at, do you see this little coffee cup that I opened, or do you not see it?
I can see it.
Okay, so look at this coffee cup. See how there's so many little tiny, let me just get a bit bigger even, can I in here? No. Just little, it's not smooth white porcelain. It's little dots make up this thing. That's a very, very grainy thing. Let me just show you what this would look like if I take away the noise. Okay, so look at the shadowy parts of this and see how speckled it is. And now I'm going to go ahead and just force a bunch of noise out. See how now it's smooth? Now watch again, keep your eyes on that. And this is very grainy. Are you looking over here?
Mhm.
And now keep your eyes straight on that. Don't blink. And now very smooth. You see how there's no grain?
Mhm.
I can't
really-
tell
it's
if you
hard.
can tell what's that?
It's really hard to see that, but I
Yeah,
can-
especially when it's shared on a Zoom or whatever, but you know, we can open this image for a little bit here. I'm gonna hit escape, change and cancel.
Just
change.
notice there's also a color noise reduction, so
Yeah, I'll play around a little bit with that. We can open that and I can, instead of giving you it as a small example, we can actually work on that. I'm gonna work a little bit more on this image before we do that. So let's finish a little bit that I wanted to show you with this. I'm gonna go back to command 1 so I can show you this whole thing. Can everyone go back to the baby in a towel? My little Santi, my now 18-year-old photograph. Because that's the guy that's with me in Argentina. And I just wanted to explain what happened. Let me turn this off. This part, the baby's face, we grouped. And then when you open this arrow, you have many different things that we did to it in order to get to this one little place. So we had the original baby head, which right now already has a mask. Then we did retouching, then we made it lighter, and then a bit lighter in the eyebrows, then a bit more of that, then a bit more of that, and we ended up with this baby face. So even though they're in a group, you can still open them up and see them. So they look like, you can see they're still there. They're just grouped and I collapse them. Let me turn that off so you can see I'm not affecting that. I'm going back to the original one, the one that has the dark baby face. And in this one, we did a couple different things. We worked on the towel down here, and then we worked on this curtain here. So where all those layers, and I believe we have one more, we might have one more thing, but for sure we had a bunch of layers. Yet, I told you how making it into a smart object was to protect it so that it could be editable. But what happened to all those layers? It's like they disappeared. They're not even under a little arrow that I can open here. So what happened to them? Well, when something gets turned into a smart object, which is what happened here, if you were to double click a little thumbnail here that is a smart object, so now watch up here at the top, I have the stock snap and Santian towel. Those are the two tabs that I have here, right? I'm going to go down here and I'm going to double click and just say okay to whatever shows up here. And now look at what happened up here. I have 1, 2, and it would seem like a third file open, but it's only a layer. It's a layer that's open. What does that mean by a layer? Well, if I open this here, I have my original, my extra little bit of towel that I copied on, and my curtain. I turn them off, I'm down. This is the original file we started the whole thing with. It was the layer 0 that had this chunk in front and the towel we want to deal with. So we turned this thing into just towel. Then we masked that little bit. But all of this is really one, like a file within a layer. I've opened the layer up and there's all these little bits and pieces. So if I now want to change something in my original image, if I want to change something of any of the stuff that's in my smart object, I can access it by double clicking that little thumbnail that has a smart object, and it'll open up into its own little layer and you'll be able to do retouching or changing or whatever it was you want to do here. Maybe I'm going to exaggerate, I'm going to do something really weird. I'm going to add a hue saturation layer where I'm going to make everything, bright blue. Okay. So I've made something where everything went bright blue. If I go back to my original image, nothing's bright blue yet. So what's missing is that I need to first save this change. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do Command S for save or File save. I've made my changes in this little portion of the layer. When I go back to my image, my main original image is now blue, except for my face, which was on top, is still the original one. See that? Because my color got applied just to this bottom one. The face that I've been using that's been corrected is on top. And by the way, this thing I just did to this, bizarre as it might be, did get one thing better. You know how if I look at this wall, you see it being all splotchy? That's the effect of noise. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Now that's totally exaggerated and it's partly because of what I did to it. So anyway, but at least you get an idea of what I mean by, sorry, it's not texture. It's not that this is noisy because the towel has a texture. It's just this thing that should be flat that has little speckles. That would be noise. Okay, so how do I fix this? In here, it just looks like my thumbnail is blue. It's because in the layers where I double clicked on it, I made it blue. I can turn this off, throw it away. I don't want a blue baby. Happy with my little baby. I threw it away, but nothing changed here yet. It's still blue. So once you add or throw away something in here, for it to be affected in the main image, you have to save it. So I'm going to File, Save again, or Command S, or Alt S. And there you go. I go back to my original and it's back to being yellow. Okay, so that's, it opens up as another file, but it's really, it's like it collapses a layer. I'm gonna close this a little bit. Have you guys try it and ask me questions. Let me stop my share for a minute. Did y'all open up, double click your smart object? Did you see how it opened up as its own little file? It's like a little sub file. You change it, you do stuff in there, you save it, and you go back to your original one, and there it is. In my case, I made the whole thing blue. So it was very editable. You don't even see it on this photo. You don't see anything that looks like there's a blue layer on this photo. But if you double click, then it expands and you go, oh, there's my little blue filter. You throw it away. Adjustment layer tab, not filter. And you throw it away and then it goes back in. So you didn't need to make anything blue. You just needed to know how to open and see things pop open on the other side and affect it. Did it work for you guys? Most of you guys saw a little bit of smart object work before, so you already had an idea. But I wanted to show you how it affects this and how much you can actually work on it. Any questions? I wanted to move on to something else, but I didn't want to finish this one without first showing you that effect of that smart object. Command zero to command minus to make this fill a screen. I'm thinking that this one's done. When I originally made a sample, I then blurred again the background. I made it even more blurry because of not liking how much this had looked, so I blurred it even further than that. But now you know, Vera, you had originally said, oh, I think I blurred it too much. Well, with the other examples that we did, the blurring, did you get a chance to unblur this as much as you had said you didn't like it so blurred? Have you been able
Yeah,
to blur?
I did.
Okay, and you're liking how it looks now? Oh, looks like you froze. Oh, she said I did and then froze. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Your other screen seems to have frozen. Okay. If you're saying something, Vera, I can't hear you. It's like the sound went off on the one that I'm hearing.
I tried it, it improved. Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. So I'm thinking that this went from, let me go to bridge. Let me share my bridge. Okay, so I'm thinking this photo now that we have 3 versions of it. It went from this is the original to this is how I fixed it. And I'm thinking we got a much better final effect as a portrait, right? From there to the, oh, we're not sharing. Zoom share. It doesn't like sharing bridge, huh? I've been noticing how it doesn't like sharing bridge. Okay, you guys go to your bridge. For some reason, I'm not able to get the bridge to share correctly ever since I moved to this monitor. It's weird. It's sharing my Photoshop and not my bridge. That's why. I'm going to just do the whole screen, desktop too. It's a bit of a mess. Yeah, I noticed. So Lisa's mentioning that you're having internet issues. I noticed that you were popping in and out. I'm sorry that's happening for you. It's not something I can fix from here, so hopefully you can fix it. Okay, I put the water bottle on me again, and now it got too hot. Yeah, I filled it up during the break with hot water, and now it's too hot. So I go from okay to too hot. I wanted to show you how the original one, if I hit the space bar on bridge, now this is how it looked when I started. And let me move these things out of the way so you guys can see. This is what we had when we started, and then this is what we have now. Okay, which I think is quite a bit better. And then from that to that to that. Okay. We applied a bunch of techniques on it. If it's a photo that it's worth working on, then no, move the participants off again. I just had to share that. It's so weird. For to share bridge, I have to do that weird rigmarole. All right. Moving on. There's a photo that's right under the towel. Oh, we had talked about that coffee cup. See, do I have time to show you both? Class is over at 12, well, for me, 8:25, right? Is that right? Vera? Dropping.
Correct.
Okay, so I think I have time to show you both of the things I want to show you. One is going to be hopefully really quick, and then we'll do the other one. There you go, Vera. Yeah, perfect. I let Vera in. Okay, so let's go to bridge, and first let's go. Let me let you guys choose. One, I had two things that I thought we could do. How about you guys choose which one you want to do next? We have an hour. Let me share my screen and show you what I mean about which two we can do, and you guys choose. One option was, today the windows are in the way. Feel like they're in the way. Okay, one option was I wanted to show you how to do more processing on this coffee image here, which is very off in color, and it has a lot of noise, as you guys just saw. I did a quick showing of that one, just to show you the quick noise thing, but I wanted to work with that one with you guys. And that I can do in a more beginner class, so you guys can see that in the next Photoshop class. So that's my my take on it, would be that you guys are a bit more advanced if you want to give this a try. I have these two here. It's a photo where, and I'm gonna make it bigger from here. Give me a second, because I don't want to make it bigger the other way. So I have this photo of this is my youngest son, my 14-year-old. But unless you're a loving mother, you would never know because of this mask, right? You would have no idea who it is. And my mom wanted me to send her this photo, but she wanted to see his face. And I have this other photo right there where you see his face. But she wanted, anyway, she for some reason, she needed the one that just him. And the face is on this one and he's on this one. So basically I swapped this head into this image. And so then you have a picture of him holding the fish with the other face. Does that make sense? With this face in there. That's the one that I was thinking that we could try, that it's harder to try with some newer students, but you guys are all a little bit more experienced. Should we go ahead and give that one a try?
Yeah. That'd be fun. Just trade his head.
Yeah, and it's not the best picture of him anyway in the second one, but the whole point isn't whether it's going to turn out to be a great picture. It's more like, how do we replace portions of images that we don't really like? And in this case, it's very typical to have a group photo with one person, especially a kid or something who's squinting or yelling, unhappy. And another group, you take two or three, and then the next one you're fine, and you might want to swap heads sometime. And I have a couple of swap heads exercises that I do with people. But this one is one that I actually worked on the other day, well, sometime last few months for my mom. And so I decided to bring it up to this group to see if we could work on it. Let's go ahead and open both. Go to Bridge. There's 2 of them, and we're gonna need both, right? So go ahead and select one, hold Shift and select the other so that both are selected. I don't know if you can tell, you can have when you're next to each other. So select one, hold Shift, select the other. And then you can right click and go down to where is it? Okay. Not right tool, not right click. Right click didn't bring it up. Go up to the top words.
If you hit
Yeah.
open with, on right click, open with, there's a Adobe Photoshop 2021.
Yeah, but I'm trying to show you something else. Trying to show you something new about Bridge. When you have 2 photos that you know you need to open and you need both of them, if you just right click and say open with Photoshop, you're going to open 2 files. And that's fine. And let me just show you this, just so you know what what it is that I'm talking about. This is a fine thing to do, but it's not what I was trying to show you. But let me show you what I mean by open 2 files. You open this one and this one, 2 files. Does that make sense? Let me get rid of, I'm going to close the one that we did the filters on. Let's go back to the I'm going to save as my filters. Sorry, I didn't have us save it. Let me just save it with a different name. Filters applied, just so that it's not the same one. Just get rid of a bit of the other one, Santi and Towel. I'm going to conclude this one by turning it off. Okay. So here's the deal. By doing the right click open with, they open as 2 separate files. There's nothing wrong with that. I wanted to show you something different. So I'm going to close them both. And now what I want to show you instead is that if you go and instead of saying right click, go up to the top where you have all of your different things and look for the word tools, all the menu items at the very top under tools. Then you can go to Photoshop. And then you can open up load files into Photoshop layers. It's just a cool trick when you know you're compositing and collaging a couple of different images. You can open them up into one Photoshop file where each one is a different layer. So I'm going to do that. And I'm going to sit here and make sure everyone found it. Do y'all find this place? And now I'm going to choose that choice. Now, when I go into Photoshop, I basically have one file, it's untitled, and each one of my layers has been loaded into this image. So I have that one and that one. Does that make sense? You guys still there?
Diana, what was the?
Yeah.
It's a little behind there. When you went to go find what you clicked on to be able to do that, what was under the category? How did you do that?
I'm sorry, I'm.
So when you went to, I wasn't looking where you did the drop down menu to be able to load the 2 files. That was under what category?
So in Bridge, oops, hold on. In Bridge, I need to share my screen again. I'm going to share my I'm going to minimize your other things so that it's easier to explain. Got a bunch of stuff in here that's getting in the way. So if you are you on a PC or on a Mac? Lisa?
I'm sorry, my dog was really barking, so I muted out. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Are you on a PC or on a Mac?
PC.
Okay, so it's a little bit different on a PC than on a Mac, but when you're in Adobe Bridge, up at the very top, you see the file, edit, view, stacks, label, tools, window. See that set of menus at the very top?
Yes,
Okay, so when you select, shift, click, select both of your images, at the very top, you go to the tools window,
tools, that's what it was. Okay.
go to Photoshop. And then in Photoshop, you say load files into Photoshop layers. And that's what
That's
gives
what
you. Yeah. And you could have checked, 5 different images that you're gonna composite, and you do this. And then they're all different layers in one image. I mean, I've shown you in the past how to open one, go and choose. Was it the first thing that we did where we did that wall where we got rid of the door, and we went and got a flower, and we brought in the flower, then we went and got a sky and brought in the sky. Just did it in individual bits and pieces. But in this case, I just wanted to show you a different way. When you know the 2 files that you're going to be opening, you just do this and they open up in the same file. There's nothing to bring in. Okay, so, excuse me. So now I'm assuming everyone has it open, or by now you might have told me that you don't. I've zoomed in a little bit.
Deanna, I have it open, but it's a tiny picture with transparency. It just looks like a stamp. What did I do?
I don't know. Show me your screen.
Okay. You see that?
Oh, yeah. That's bizarre. So go ahead and close it. Because, yeah, I don't know what happened there. Turn that off. Say don't save, and then you have the other, yeah, you have the other 2 individual ones that you did open, so close both. I'm noticing that at 100%, it does look small. These are low resolution images that I brought. Go ahead and go back to Bridge. And let's try that again. They are low res images. I'm not so concerned about that. I was concerned about you getting all that extra space. So you first have to select them. Yeah, you have them selected. Load
Yeah.
files, load files into Photoshop layers. Okay. It's just that you have this other, you have like, you know what? Hold on. You
Well, I
also
have the coffee open.
that one's selected too. Yeah. So click away, click on some place with no name. Yeah. Click on, no, don't open anything. Go, yeah, click kind of some grayish area, usually the toolbar or something that gets rid of your selection. Go straight down and select, oh, where'd you-
Sorry.
it's okay.
Okay.
You can go up to the arrow and go back so that you can go back to where you were. Yeah, so now just go and select each, just go and select the ones that we do want, the first one, and then hold shift and select together. Okay, now go up to Photoshop and load files in Photoshop layers. And let's see if that happens again. Okay, there you go. So now they're small. You can, zoom in, Command plus a few times. You have your whole screen has a very, very high resolution. You have it like on a very high resolution. So everything shows up so tiny on your screen. And if you have a great eyesight, that's awesome. But whenever you share your screen, it's so hard for me to see anything because everything is so tiny. But hey, if it works for you, but just saying Command plus a few times so that you can see the
It's
work.
not frozen. It's not responding.
Really? Maybe I'm gonna stop your share because sometimes it might be because of my share. Does it stay frozen?
No, not worked. Yeah.
Many times when you're sharing, it doesn't do that. Okay. Let me share does everyone have them open now in one layer? Everyone else is set up? And Lisa said you were having problems. Hopefully, maybe you've been able to catch up.
Yeah,
Dorothy,
I did. Thank you.
all right, Patricia, you okay? All right, let me share the screen now. All right, so in order to get close to this face, I'm up at 300%, which is more than what I normally would want. But it is a low res photo. I didn't know how I didn't know how well the sharing would happen here from Argentina, so I brought them pretty low res. So that's the top one, and it could be that your top one was a bit different, right? That yours open in the other order. But right now, my top one is this, and it's a full layer. It's hiding the other one. Turn this eyeball off, and I see the bottom one, okay?
Why
So
does yours still say load layers? Mine
Mine?
went away after they were loaded. That,
mine says load layers. What are you talking about?
you show 3 frames there. Yeah, that load layers. Mine doesn't say load layer. I don't have that.
Yeah,
Load layers.
I don't have that. I don't know why I have that.
Okay, because
Uh,
it goes away after it's loaded.
Let me do it again. I don't know why I did it so many times when I show things. Let me quickly do it one more time to see how come it says, there you go. It's still there.
Yeah. Well, maybe it just can't keep up.
I don't know. In the past, it's just been the 2.
Yeah.
I don't know why this
It
load
shows
layer-
load layers while it's loading the second one, and then it goes away.
No, mine is still there, and then you're right, and I don't know why it's there.
Just
I don't
curious.
need it, so I'm gonna dump it, but that's weird. Does anyone else have this load layers file?
I do.
Don't know why it's there. I don't think it's been there in the past, and I don't need it. So anyone else who has it, you can get rid of it. Just put it in the trash, because really we need these 2. Okay. All right, so here's the deal. There's so many different ways we can do this. And the main issue is gonna be that we're going to want to really work our masking abilities and our masking skills. Because these photos have the faces in a different position, the proportion or the size of this face is different than this one. Okay, he's bigger here proportionally than in this one. So it's not going to be the easiest thing to do, but you guys are pros now. So let's go to this bottom one, and I'm going to change the name of these layers so that it's easier for us to know which one is this. I'm going to say take face from here, right? Just, you don't guys have to change that, but just, well, so that's clear what we're doing. And replace face into this layer, right? So that we can see what we're doing. Okay, so now this one I'm going to be working on later, but the face I need to go from the bottom one. So I'm going to turn the eyeball off on this one. And over here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of grab a bunch of it, his face. You guys, oh, told you I wasn't feeling too well, and I'm kind of still not feeling too well. Let me see if I can make it to the end. Let's grab the lasso tool. And
Diane?
let's be very generous and grab a whole bunch like this of his, a bunch of space around his hat and all the way down to like before the fish where it says Yellowstone. Bring all that in and all the way to the top, because I don't know yet if the shoulders movement of one photo is going to match with the other. So let's just kind of bring this whole thing in. Okay.
Diane?
Yes.
Hi, this is Lisa. Can I ask you a question? Somehow, when I merge the photos, I have a different screen, and mine says Untitled Panorama, and I've got like half the photo and half of like a pattern of
Oh,
gray
yeah,
and white.
yeah, you probably chose the do panorama. You want to share your screen, or let me see. You don't need to share. When you went to Photoshop, instead of saying load files into Photoshop layers, I think you probably did a photo merge or something like
I did.
that.
I think I did photo merge. Yes.
Yeah, when you, because of your description. So just close that up without saving and do it again.
Okay. And inside of photo merge, I'm supposed to do what?
load files, what's it called? Load files into Photoshop layers. It's,
Got it. Okay.
okay, you guys. We have 30 more minutes to go and I need a break, a 5-minute break. Can you guys, okay, we go 5 minutes extra if I take a little 5-minute break right now? I'll be back very soon.
Yeah.
right, I'm back. Thank you guys. Sorry about that. I had to go. All right, I'm back. I'm back. Hopefully. All is good now. Okay. So I had said that we needed to take a select, am I still sharing? No. Share my screen. Here we go. We need to select, we need to share. Where did you guys go? Here we go. This little bit of screen of body, so to say, together with the shoulders and everything. And we don't need the rest of this, right? So we can just do a copy of just this little portion that we've selected. And to do that, a good way to do that is to do a command or control and then tap the J. So that you get this little bit of it only. So if I turn this off, see how this only little bit is floating? And then I don't need this anymore. So I can get rid of this part, right? And grab this guy and get rid of it. Then I need to put it above the other one. And now we have our base and our new one. And what we need to do is we need to match this top one with this bottom one. And we can take two tactics. We can replace the whole thing and have him just be completely new and different, or we can just go under the mask and just replace the face part or something like that. I've tried it both ways. How are we doing there? Time I share your screen, I'm losing you guys. I'm gonna minimize my bridge because I want to be able to see you guys when I'm talking and I'm not seeing it. Okay, so did everyone create that little second bit? So let's say that this is the new face. I'm gonna call it something like new face. Is everyone here at this point? gonna
No,
Save as, before I continue and help, I'm gonna do a little save as, so everyone's saved, because this is an untitled new file. So it doesn't have a name, so we can call this one, I don't know, replace face, I guess, and say save. I'm gonna add my kid's name there, Joaquin, so I know which one, because I use different exercises of replacing faces. I'm gonna show on the file name, I want to know which one this is. Right, so who said no, and who can I help?
Dorothy said no.
Okay,
Yeah. And what I got was,
share your screen or something, and I can see where you're at, and
I just discarded that layer and starting over again.
discarded the bottom layer. If you discard it, you're going to start over again. You can just get it, just say undo and
No, the layer came out with not his face in it because
Oh, okay.
because the image moved away when I did that. So
All right. So you might want to go ahead and get him a little bit smaller so you can grab his shoulders as well. So go ahead and do command or minus one time so that, because
Well,
right now I want you to get a bit
did-
more. Go ahead, command minus. I want you to get his shoulders, like kind of get the whole Yellowstone thing. We won't need the Yellowstone thing, but I want you to get more because it might be easier to find the position of his body. You might somehow need a shoulder here and there. Just get a bit more. So hold down your shift key because that stuff is okay. It's been selected. Hold down your shift key now and then add another little bubble circle where you include his shoulders, maybe include the Yellowstone part and then attach it. So yeah, start from there, from inside of it. And now, yeah, get a bit more. And then once you touch that, you can now let go and that'll add itself. See, there you go. Yeah, I think a little bit more is going to work. Okay. And now do a command J. Hold on the command key and tap the J. There you go. See how you got that little layer one is the face now? You can go in there, double click layer 1 and call it new face or something like that, or just face, because the other one doesn't have a face, the other one's a face mask. And then drag it above the top one, the one that needs the face to be replaced. Yeah. Okay. And now,
I don't know what order the layers should be.
well, at this
Ultimate.
point, the one that we said take face from here, we don't need anymore because we took the face. So the bottom one can be gotten rid of, right?
Oh, this
The
one?
very bottom one, yeah, because we got the face, we don't need it anymore, right? So you can dump that to not have anything extra that's unnecessary. Yeah, there we go, perfect.
But in other,
In the other, in the other round, you're gonna want the new face on top of the old face because it's replaced it. So turn the eyeball on the bottom one. And you're perfect. Now, we don't have it in the right place or anything yet, but no, you're moving the bottom one. So that doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense because the bottom
Why?
one was filling your screen. So do a Command Z to undo that. If you want to see what's happening, go ahead and do a big Command 0. So you fill your screen with the entire image. Do a Command 0. Okay, and now do a little Command minus one more time. Okay, now notice you do again what you were doing before. Go ahead and put your mouse on the sky as you were doing before. If you move that one, just you had go back to, now you have the lasso tool, go back to your move tool, which is your V or move tool. Yeah, so what you were doing was, yeah, click and drag and move that one. No, well, you were doing before is moving the bottom one. I was saying that it's the wrong one to move, and I just wanted to show you why. Go ahead and click on the bottom one now. Yeah.
the layer.
Either the layer or on the bottom, put your mouse on the fish or something, like the bottom obvious bottom image. Yeah. And now move it. When you first started doing it, you couldn't tell because you couldn't see the whole image, but that's what you were doing. You were trying. So see how you're moving the whole image out of its docket, if you want, out of its place. Move it again, just kind of, you were doing that as in, should you put that under the flat face? But since you were seeing everything so zoomed in, you couldn't see that's what you were doing. So sometimes when you want to find out, well, what should I do before, under, over? It's good to see the whole thing and then notice, well, clearly that photo needs to stay as it is because you don't want to crop some of those fish from there or so, and what needs to move is the top one. So to move the top one, now go click on his little face, the replacement one. And now we're going to move that one over the right place. But now I'm going to stop your share because we're going to keep moving on to what we do to make that work. Any questions before I share mine again? Okay. So now, I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller here. I'm gonna go to the new face and I'm gonna zoom in again as opposed to what I just told Dorothy because I want to see more detail. It's too far. So I'm gonna go Command plus plus, and then I'm gonna scroll down. I know the bottom one's gonna stay where it is. And this top one, I'm gonna select it now and drag it over. But see how hard it is to tell where to put it? Because you're hiding the other one. So how do you know where to put it? Well, one thing I'm noticing is that this person, this little face is smaller than the original face to start with. If you didn't, and it's in his whole body and has a different position. So it's not going to be easy to just replace one with the other. Just look at the horizon of the ocean. See how he's got like a different horizon. So we won't just kind of be able to fade this one into the other one. It's not going to be that easy. What we need to do first is kind of bring down the opacity of this layer. So we'll go over here to the opacity and let me see if I can get the annotate spotlight again. There we go. So over here with the new face selected, meaning this is selected, now this is selected. Selected means it makes lighter gray. It's bring down the opacity of this layer down until we begin to see both. And I know at first it's a bit confusing, right? But when you see both, you can begin to figure out, and if you go down to 50%, you're seeing both the same amount, which is a bit more confusing. So maybe 75% or something like that. And then you're like, which is which? But now, when you click on this and move it around, you can begin to tell, okay, so this is my new one. This is my bottom one. And can you tell how smaller it is and how out of place it is? So now what we can do, we can start doing a couple of different steps. First of all, we're going to protect it. We're going to, well, forget the, I was going to say we could put it into a smart object, but that would complicate things a little bit. Let's forget the smart object part right now. Let's just, you see the horizon line? Let's just straighten the horizon line. So let's do we can even do that back. Let's put I'm going to put the opacity back up to 100%. And I'm going to fix the horizon line to start with. So to fix the horizon line on the new face, let's do a Command or Control T. For those of you guys who like the tools on top. Let me move that. Like the tools on top, just go to File, Edit, Free Transform, which is the Command or Control T shortcut that I have here. Command T. And now let's straighten that horizon. So I'm going to put my mouse somewhere out here and I'm going to skew this so that I can see that line making much more sense. And I'm going to put it over him and work it to the right and to the left where my horizon kind of matches the bottom one. See what I mean there by the horizon matching? Because otherwise later we're going to have a lot of trouble with that. If any of the horizon stays, we're going to really want it to not be an issue. Once you find the right spot where the horizon seems to be matching really well, then, and mine still has a teensy tad off, then you either have to hit the return key or the check mark over here. There you go. And now I feel better about that horizon. As you can see, we still don't have the right shape, the right size, but once we bring the opacity down on him again, so I'm going to bring this down. Now I can make a bit more sense and see whether and how much bigger I need to make him. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, which was, but this time I brought down the opacity. Controller Command T again. And now I'm going to start making this a little bit bigger. And I'm going to the corner. Okay. And if you, by the way, if you don't go to the corner, if you start moving I don't know, they've changed that. I can move it from corners or from sides. Okay. And it's proportional. Okay. That's good to know. So I'm going to move him over his original self. I'm going to try to get the size right. So the hat, I'm going to see how I'm making this one bigger so that the top of the hat, I want to make sure they kind of touch each other while the horizon stays about the same. And remember, boats move. So horizon might have shifted right when the photo was taken before or after, but I'm trying to get his shoulders to be kind of in the same place. And I'm discovering that if the horizon is in the right place, the shoulders are kind of in the right place. So probably it was a pretty flat-ish boat ride. So I'm thinking that this might work kind of okay. I'm gonna make it, don't want to make him look like he's got much bigger shoulders. So I'm trying to match visually one to the other. I'm kind of getting there. Here's my new one. That seems to match pretty well. Maybe he's still a tad smaller. So it's a little bit of a guessing game.
You're not trying to cover up anything, are you?
Not right now. We're gonna hopefully only end up, if this whole replacing his whole top doesn't work, when I did it before, I just replaced his face. But it wasn't the happiest solution. So now I'm thinking, what if we replace his whole top? You can't really replace his whole top until we kind of match the thing. And I'm not sure it's gonna work until I start creating a mask. It might not work at all. Let's see. It might work and it might not work. The face worked. Okay, so now I've got him. He's got a different body position, so he's a little bit higher on the other one, but I think proportion wise, his body now, because I've matched the width of his arms from here to here, I think that proportionally this is right, and then I'm matching the horizon. I think that seems to be the right place. So now I'm going to say return or enter or hit this little check mark to be done with that. Notice that if I now go and put him on high opacity, and if I look at the whole image, does he look like he matches with this image? Did I get too big or too small? I have to back off a little bit. Now, I know he's not, we have to do some masking to make it look normal, but does it suddenly look like he's grown too many inches? Does he look like it's normal? I think that might work. You guys each did your own, so I'm not sure if yours work, but that's kind of okay-ish for me. I think these two images might be a little bit too different to match the whole top of the body, but we'll see when we get to the head. If not, we'll end up just cutting out his face part, which is what I actually originally did. All right, is everyone kind of here?
Yes.
Yes.
Does anyone need help with getting to this point? Is a better way to ask more than saying, are you here? No? Okay, so now we're gonna have to take off all the stuff here that we don't want, that doesn't belong here, right? To see if it works to replace it. So let's go ahead and add a mask to the new face. So click down here and add this little rectangle. Now this mask that we've added has nothing pre-selected, so it has no value, so to say, as a mask yet. It's going to start being a mask when we start painting some opposite color of what's on it right now. It's white, so we need to paint with black. So let's go grab our brush. And I'm going to make it much smaller. We had a big one for last time. And I'm going to need a pretty accurate-ish brush as far as hardness. I don't know, let's start with a 50% brush and let's see where it goes. It might need more, might need less. That's a good in between, and let's decide. And over here, I need white, I need black because my mask is white. And if I paint white and white, nothing happens. So I'm going to hit the X key. So now I've got my tools ready. I've got black brush. I gave it about a 50% hardness there, and we'll see if it's too much or too little. Right now, I truly want to get rid of some of this stuff, so I'm going to go for 100% opacity. I'm going to gently start dragging over the stuff that I for sure don't want. But see, here's the problem. As soon as you start doing that, when you get rid of what you don't want here, well, there's this other hat. You know what I mean? This is the hat from down there. So I want to avoid seeing that hat. So I'm going to do what? Put white on again. Right? So I switch with my X key here. And now I paint over this again and I go, I don't really want to get rid of that hat yet. So I'm kind of covering that up again. And I'm not sure the angles are going to work, but we'll see. Let's try over here. If I now go back to having black and I start kind of trying to delete this, can I kind of merge one body into another and have his face? I don't think so. His body positions are so different. I'm basically getting rid of all the new body, bottom. Okay, so now this is all I've left. And I've left just the face. The bodies were too different. Here's the old body, right? The one that I just brought in. See? And the position of his body is actually completely opposite direction. Here, he's looking in one direction. His left shoulder is up and he's looking this way. The new body, he's completely shifted to show me his other side. So I don't think we can replace the body. I think we need to just go for the face. So that was a good try. So let me just get rid of this body. All this body that we brought, we'll hit the X key and pretty much get rid of it, right? So I'm gonna erase a lot of what I brought. I just thought I'd give it a try, but I probably can't use most of it. So I'm gonna forget that because the color we could have easily have then gently molded this into the other one, but it's not gonna work. So now I'm left with this face on top of this body. And we've got some weird stuff here where we've got some double layers. And the question is, oh, actually, looking at that, it might be that we can merge this. I'm looking at the edge of this is where his neck and the new one was. Can I put it here? Santi?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit too loud. I'm still in class. I'm just trying to make sure he doesn't look hunchback or weird. So this is the original one. This is the new one. I think it looks like it's a pretty natural possible position, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So you have to kind of move it until it kind of matches. It's his shoulder. And I used this shoulder line that now I erased. This one from, this shoulder line here. Here I kind of used it. Oh, it was his hood, not his shoulder. I just had to look at that better. So that was his hood. I thought that was his shoulder. That's why he looks a bit hunchback. Because I matched shoulder with, yeah. So as you can see, I'm switching with my X key back and forth to reveal some things and to hide some others so that I can kind of do my best to match both bodies. That kind of looks good. So now here, if I look over here, I have two cords coming out. One is the original one and one came with a new neck. See that? So I'm going to go to the new neck and kind of get rid of that there and see if it merges into the other neck. Here I have a little bit of a comment. So then by the time I'm done, I'm going to be left with just this issue of the fact that I have a different color sky with that hat peeking up. So I want to cover that hat up again. So I'm going to go with the brush and put some white again here. And then I'm going to make it a bit softer brush, 0%, so that I can slowly gently merge this back in. So I basically want a very soft ending. So now what I'm going to do, I had all this white around. I'm going to give it a softer brush so that I can begin to just kind of gently, and the bigger brush is better because I have a softer brush, gently try to merge my white. See what I'm doing? What used to be a really sharp, let me just show you again. I'm going to put it the other color. See how this was a very sharp line before? If I give a soft brush and softly start trying to merge the edges of this line, definitely the horizon doesn't need to be there. I can kind of start matching. So it looks like there's, see how the sky now doesn't look so different? Just because I blend, this is, let me show you I'm gently blending. See, I'm coming in here and I'm putting in just a very soft transition. That's why I shifted back to the soft brush, because now what seemed so white doesn't seem to be such a problem. And I'm gonna go over here and do the same thing here. Just gently cut that edge off a bit. I'm gonna run into some trouble here with the other hat. I left it a bit too close, so that's a problem. We might have to do some patching of that there. See how no matter how much, I didn't really bring enough to merge that in there. So the only issue I'm having is the hat underneath, which no matter how softly I merge these, it just, the other hat keeps coming up. See that? So I'm gonna have to work with that bottom one. I turn this off, so I'm gonna have to cover some of this hat up with some of this sky. Here we go. This is about as good as it's gonna get. I'm gonna cover the hat again. So right now, see how that new head on top of his body is looking fine, but I have like a halo effect on him. Before I continue, I want to make sure that you guys get to about this point. So does anyone need a hand? I keep going
I
up
do.
to this
Yeah,
part.
my
because it's the only
tools
part we're
are-
changing.
My tools are frozen. It's frozen on an eyedropper or something, and I can't go to my history. I can't do anything.
Can you change with your keyboard? Can you hit the B for brush on your keyboard?
Yeah, nothing happens. I still have the eyedropper floating around.
It's not a point of sharing at this point, because if it's frozen, I can't help you much, but I want to see whether, well, maybe share your screen, because it's possible that you have some. do you
Oh,
have some-
the color, never mind, the color picker was open.
Oh, there we go. I was gonna say, it's possible you have some kind of box open
Another-
that needs to be canceled. There it was. Yeah.
Okay.
Whenever
I'm okay.
nothing happened, whenever it doesn't look frozen, you don't have a weird little frozen thing happening. But nothing seems to work. Usually it's that you've got something open that needs to be said okay or cancel to. Some dialog box is talking to you. Technically, by the way, class was over at 12:25. We're going over a little bit longer, okay, but that's fine. Let's finish this a bit, and then I'm gonna show you what the solution is for that sky. And then you guys can work on it on your own. And then if you want to email me your final pieces. Does anyone have a question about this before I move to that little, how do we fix that hat portion? No?
No.
All right, no one seems to have a question, so let me show you what I'm gonna do to fix that. And even if up close you can't see it, it is good sometimes to take some distance, right? And when you do that, you see that there's that big like white light above his head right there?
You're
So,
not showing.
oh, thank you, Joyce, always keeping me straight. All right, so see how from, like, when I'm up close, it's harder to tell that something's wrong sometimes because you're seeing the detail, but if you just back off a little bit, there's like the halo over his head. That's where the old hat was, and I brought in, and I'm having to cover it with this new sky, right? And it's not working well. So let me do this. I'm gonna put another layer in between these two. All right, so watch for a minute, don't do any more. I'm gonna just show you what to do my best to get you there, and then you can send me your final solutions by email. So I'm gonna turn off this new face layer, okay, right there. I'm gonna just turn it off. And now what I need to do is basically cover up this hat. What's the best thing to cover it up with? Well, some of this sky, right? So I'm gonna grab the bottom layer. So you can watch, but kind of do this gently, meaning don't keep working on it. Let's select the bottom layer. I'm gonna grab my lasso tool again. And I'm gonna make a bit of a feathered selection. Now be careful, because when you feather right here, your selection, and here's a chunk of sky that's not been feathered. Let me show you. Don't do this. A regular selection with no feathering, if I copy that, this is what I got, a very sharp chunk of sky. See that? That's a non-feathered selection. If instead I feather my selection, say that I grab whatever, 50 pixel feather, and I grab that same chunk of sky. Okay, that 50 pixel is too much because it's low res. Let me go for 15 pixels then. There we go. If I grab that same selection, watch when I bring it over, this is what I've just selected. See the difference between that and this? And it looked like the same thing, but it's just that the selection I made was already so feathered. This is a hugely feathered selection, won't cover much up. And this is a non-feathered selection. It will be very hard to hide. So you want somewhere in between these two. Okay, I'm going to get rid of these two. I just wanted to show you the difference between a feathered selection and a non-feathered selection. I'm going to get rid of them. All right, so I'm going to go to my selection, and I'm going to select from this sky, from this area right next to his hat. I'm going to give it maybe let me try with a 5 pixel selection. And I'm going to grab a bit of sky, maybe a bit more, that surrounds him. I need to start that again because I kind of messed up. About this much sky. And I'm going to kind of do this. I'm kind of guessing at the shape that I need right now. And now I'm going to copy this much sky and drag it over to kind of cover this much hat, which is the hat that's being covered. So I'm going to Control and Command J. So now this is a bit of sky, right? And you can't see it because this sky is sitting on top of the other one, but it's that little bit of sky. And I'm going to grab my move tool and drag it over. See how I'm kind of covering his head, his hat, in the areas that seem to be sticking out, kind of up there and on the side. And that seems to merge well. And now I need to get rid of some of it from here because this didn't work well. So I can get rid of this here. I don't want that. Okay. Oops. Okay. So now this is just a chunk of sky that I've sat on top of his hat. As long as it merges well enough with the background. Now, when I turn this one on, I can finally delete from this mask with a brush the rest of this kind of white hat, because underneath what I'm seeing is that bit of sky. See, if I turn that bit of sky off, I'm seeing the hat, but instead, now I'm seeing that little bit of sky. So can you see what I did? Here I have the head. Here I have a little bit of sky. It's hard to see right there. And you have the original. So now I'm going to turn the bit of sky on again, hiding some of the hat. And now the new head on top that's got that little bit of hot sky that it's sitting on. And it does look like I might need to do a little bit more erasing over here. Get it closer. Oops. Because the sky from the one photo is lighter than the sky from the other photo. And there you go. Now we have a photo of this guy with his happy fish, but without his mask on. As opposed to, oops, as opposed to that one where he was all covered up.
Did you make a new layer?
Yes, I made a new layer where I put a little bit of sky.
Or was it an adjustment layer of what kind?
Nope, what I did is I copied a little bit of this sky. Just like before we had copied his face from another one here, I copied a bit of just gray clouds. And I sat them on top of his hat to hide his hat a bit. That's all. That's to do it in a non-destructive way. A destructive way would have been to sit here and just heal and just kind of hide his head. But if something turns out wrong, then it's gone and it's all weird. So this is the non-destructive way of hiding his head by just putting a little bit more of what's already around him on top of his hat to hide the fact that when I was putting this on top, I could still see a little bunch of original hat there. So to hide it, I put a little bit more of sky. Okay, so I went and I grabbed with a selection tool, the lasso. I feathered it a bit so it would be be able to gently, it would be a soft chunk of sky, right? Selected it, only I selected it kind of around his head so that it would be, because this guy here might look the same, but when you put it here, it might look too light. So I selected a chunk kind of like this of sky. And then I copied that. And how do you copy? We did that already with the head. Command J. And now this little bit of sky that I've got here, see, that I just copied, I dragged it down to hide that part of the hat, which was that and this that was showing through. So I covered it. Once you cover it, now the normal face that I had, the face that I had before, which used to show the hat, now can't show the hat because in between I put a little bit, I'm calling it a bit of a cloudy sky. Does that make sense, you guys?
Yes, it does.
It's not the simplest thing. I'm taxing you guys with this one. All right. But what I would like you guys to do is to give it your best try. Share with me right now if you have any questions or something. We've gone, quite a bit over, but if you have a question right now, I'll help you. But otherwise, watch this recording and give it a try. Do your best and send me your new version of my son with a head without a mask. Okay, and let's see how it goes. Just be careful. Zoom in quite a bit and make sure that you don't leave like weird. Oh, I'm telling you, zoom in to make sure you don't leave weird stuff. And look, I left a weird thing here. This is the cord from, oh. Thank you, Joyce. I just was telling you, oh, look, it's looking great. And I backed off and I said, make sure to zoom in to look for things that might be weird. And when I did that to show you to do that, look at that. I just discovered some weirdness there. This cord is from the new head and this is the old head, and see how they don't match? See, let me turn this off. Here's the old head. Here's the new head. See what it's doing? I'm like, oh, and I hear it was telling you, look, it's over, and it's not really. It looks like I need to make these two match. So to do that, I'm going to probably have to mask a little bit more here. I'm going to go to the mask, grab my brush, and see if I hide this one. There you go. I was able to kind of make it merge pretty well with the new one. There you go. Now that one looks pretty good, and I don't think anyone can tell anything's different or wrong. Yeah, it's just by the time you're looking at the whole photo, the last thing you're going to notice is that the cord from his jacket here gets a little bit thicker. Anyway, so just that was my advice was get up close to make sure there's no weird double shoulders or triple backgrounds or stuff. And then as I did that, I showed you, see here I have a little bit of a white patch behind his hair. There shouldn't be a white patch behind his hair because there's body. So if I click on it to hide it, then I can get a little bit of that background back that should be there because that should be his shoulder. So anyway, just make sure you don't have like weird doublenesses and stuff that shouldn't be there, like that little double cord that I just had. There you go. And then the only other problem that I had encountered before was the hat. And last time I resolved it a different way, and I like this resolution better. Last time I had done some healing tool and whatever. I kind of like this better. Just hide the hat with a fake piece of sky. All right, save. You guys, Command S or Control S, or go up to Edit, Save. And then keep working on it and send me your little patches of sky, new heads, new faces with no masks. And it's okay if it's not perfect. Just send me what you got, because it's all a work in progress. This was not easy. I don't kind of give a replacement like this to my beginning Photoshop people, but you guys have done a couple of courses. Some of you guys have done more than that. I think you can handle a bit more complication and hopefully have fun with it. Okay. Thank you for the wish for safe travels. I will be on a plane on Sunday, and I will be in Santa Barbara Monday evening. And yeah, I'll be sending an email about the summer courses, the fall courses. Hopefully you can all be back in my Friday morning class. And other than that, I'll see you around.
Hope you
Drive
feel better.
safely.
Bye now.
Bye.
You made it
Thank
so
you.
much fun. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have a nice trip.
Thank you.
Patricia, thank you. Bye,
Take a
everyone.
good rest so you don't get sick.
Yeah, I know. I'm,
Bye-bye.
I'm saying the final goodbyes to everyone. There's no resting. I'm like, one more minute here, one more minute there. I wish I could see you more, It's like that. It's fun. See how
Say
much
hello
I've
to your
I've
mom.
talked today that I barely have any voices because I was walking and talking with everyone. I was like, so I have no voice left, but it's fun. I'll recover on the long plane flight home. See you guys.